Ask anyone who's played Halo Combat Evolved what the worst level in the game is, and 90% of the time, you'll get the same answer: the library. It's understandable why, even the devs know that this level is the worst.
I blame Tyson for this whole thing. Like he said, let's add another level.
I think we probably could have cut a floor or two.
Well, yeah, I mean,
this video is looping, I think somebody put this in the library.
Recently, my friend and I played Ruby's Rebalanced mod for Halo CE. This mod is more than just a rebalancing of weapons and enemies, it's a reimagining of what Halo CE could have been. There's so many amazing additions to the sandbox, enemy roster, level design, and overall feel of the game. I love Halo CE, it's my favorite Halo campaign, but this mod is actually better than the original game. In this video, I'll examine Ruby's rebalanced version of the library as an example of how amazing this mod is and why you should download it now. Without further ado, let's get right into this. Right away, the opening cutscene shows off this active camo hidden behind a door. It sends a clear message: exploration of this level will be rewarded. As we walk through the first hallway, I expected to get rushed in this room like I normally do, but I noticed that there were a lot less enemies than the original level. We played through this mod on heroic difficulty. Maybe if we played on legendary it would have been tougher, but I really like this change. In the original level, the first hallway almost always kills new players at least once. Here you have the chance to ease into the intensity, which is a great change. There's something to be said for games that just throw you into the deep end, but given the length of this level, I think it's better for there to be more peaks and valleys of intensity, otherwise the level is just exhausting to play. Another thing I noticed here is that the howls and growls of the Flood from Halo 2 and 3 are present in this mod, which made the atmosphere so much more compelling. Passing through the index chamber into the next hall, a Flood combat form with a flamethrower jumped down in front of me. Of course I had to try it out. The flamethrower turned out to be one of my favorite weapons to use in this mission. Originally added as a multiplayer only weapon in Halo CE for the PC, the flamethrower is present throughout Ruby's Rebalanced campaign, and it's a welcome addition. The Halo 3 flamethrower always felt disappointing to me because you move so slowly while carrying it, it's less viable against the Flood. That issue isn't present here, and I love burning these combat forms to a crisp. There are 3 major changes to the general combat against the Flood that makes fighting them so much better in this mod overall. First, the infection forms are more resilient. In the original game, if you shoot a swarm of them, you're likely to cause a massive chain reaction that destroys them all. In this mod, that still happens, but to a diminished extent. The infection forms are now much more of a threat that actually require your attention, making fighting groups of the Flood overall more interesting. Second, killing a carrier form with explosive weapons is much less risky. In this mod, using an explosive on a carrier form not only blows it up on the spot, but also destroys the infection forms inside. Third, melee attacks against Flood are actually viable. After proceeding past the first door, I spot a teleporter pad. That's weird. Let's explore in the opposite direction of where we normally go. Oh look, some ammo for the flamethrower and a medkit. And the teleporter here sends me back to where we started. That was so worth it. Anyways, moving on. What was that? On the second floor, we see the first evidence that the Covenant have been here before us. A fallen light post lays on the floor, and these boxes break up the environment a bit more than normal. These simple objects give some environmental storytelling that opens up questions about how and why the Covenant came here, and they provide more cover against the horde of Flood that comes as we wait for Guilty Spark to open the door. In the next room, we see the evidence of a great battle that took place here. A destroyed Wraith and broken Shade turret are immediately apparent, and fallen energy shields are strewn around this open area. Here I find the Sentinel Beam, which originally wasn't even in the first Halo game. I was enjoying blasting some Flood with the Sentinel Beam, but then my buddy rolled around the corner with a new Covenant vehicle called the Shadow. It functions like the Spectre from Halo 2, but it has the Shade turret's gun. Man, I was not expecting vehicle combat on this level. It felt great to quickly traverse these large open halls while blasting Flood with plasma. As we continued through the second floor, we saw more Covenant wreckage and even some Flood biomass. Creepy. Finding another teleporter, we look around to see a suspicious amount of active camo power-ups. But it's a trap. Active camo Floods start swarming around us. If it wasn't for the flamethrower, I would have been toast. This type of encounter design is just so good. Lure the player in with some power-ups, then unleash a horde of monsters. Good stuff. Emerging from the first tunnel, we find some ghosts. Again, I wasn't expecting vehicle combat, especially not in these smaller tunnels, but the ghost really feels good to use here. At this point, I'm realizing just how different all the encounters in this level are. Despite fighting in similar environments, every fight feels different because of the tools we have at our disposal and the encounter design. Speaking of encounter design, this hallway that features a rocket launcher flood now has some barricades to provide cover. A few minutes later, we arrive on the 3rd floor, and wow, is the environmental design here so much better. There's a clear progression that as we get closer to the index, the destruction is becoming more apparent. Fires rage as sentinels attempt to hold back the parasite. I wonder if fire damages the ghost. Passing through the 2nd tunnel, we come across an energy sword embedded in a combat form, its former owner lying nearby. Of course, I immediately grab the sword and start laying waste to the flood. We were so excited to be able to use this iconic weapon. When the next door opened, our jaws dropped. We could actually drive the Halo CE Wraith. As the music ramped up, I blasted the flood apart while my buddy backed me up in a ghost. This is Halo as it was intended. As we continued through the war-torn facility, it became clear that the flood infestation was quickly getting out of hand. Large clumps of biomass, increasing presence of flood spores, and horrifying sounds could be found at every corner. The level was building up to something epic. One of my favorite moments came in this final tunnel. Carefully navigating the claustrophobic, nasty, infested space, I nearly jumped out of my chair when this happened.
Surprise, motherfucker!
In the next room, there are these teleporters to help you in the fight, but the cool thing is that they're totally optional. I activated them a couple rooms back when I hit this button. How cool is that? After hacking and slashing and finding a group of sentinels having a flood bonfire, we finally make it to the last door. Huge masses of flood biomass, large tentacles, and clouds of spores litter the environment. We had to get out of here as fast as we could. Battling our way through the hordes, we finally got to the index and the level was over. Sitting back after finishing the library, I couldn't help but feel like this was a completely different experience to the original game. I loved it. All of the problems of the original version were addressed in this mod. The presence of more Covenant equipment, fires, and flood biomass really helped the environments not feel repetitive. The variety of new weapons meant lots of viable options for each encounter. The addition of vehicles to this mission was absolutely mind-blowing, and the frequent hidden stashes made it worth it to take our time. You absolutely have to check it out for yourself. Go to Steam and download it today. Thank you so much for watching this far. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed, and let me know if you'd like to see other levels of this campaign. There's so much more to see. Thanks again, and peace out for now.